Okay, students, today I'm going to be factoring a polynomial, and we're going to start off by finding all the prime factors of both numbers and putting one prime factor on top of the other prime factor. As we discussed on Friday, a prime factor is when you take a number and you factor it using a factor tree to find its prime numbers. So what times what makes 16? Well, 4 times 4 makes 16. But what makes 4? Well, 2 times 2 makes 4. And over here, we also have 2 times 2. This is a prime number. 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 So we found all of our prime numbers. Of course, when we factor out the number or the letter b, we just get 1b. So here we go. The prime factors of 16 were 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times a b. Now we're going to do the negative 20b squared. Well, don't worry about the b squared because b squared is just b times b. So let's look at the negative 20. Since we have a negative number, we want to factor out something that will not impact the number at all. So we start off with its prime number and we give the negative 2 to 1. So negative 1 times 20. Now we can factor out the 20, which is 2 times 10. Since the 2 is prime, let's factor out the 10, which is 2 times 5. So again, we circle all of our prime numbers, and when we want the prime numbers of negative 20b squared, we get negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 5. Well, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to put those numbers underneath the numbers we already put for 16b, but this time I want to line things up. Here's what I mean. I'm going to put the negative 1 over here, and I have two 2's, so I'm going to put a 2 here and a 2 here. Now I have a 5, but I don't have anything to put the 5 underneath, so I'm just going to kind of drop it over here. Now I have two b's. Here's a b that I could put, and then I'm going to put the other b over here. All right, now there's a reason to the madness, and it has something to do with what we were doing when we were doing square roots. Do you remember that a square root, a radical, that was squared, because we didn't see a number here, meant to take things out 2 at a time? Well, we're basically going to kind of do the same thing over here. We're going to circle everything that has a pair to it. Here's a pair of 2's, here's another pair of 2's, and here is a pair of b's. Since we want pairs, because we have a binomial, which means you have two terms. Since we have pairs, we're going to take this pair and bring it straight down and say, okay, well, there's a pair of 2's. Let's bring this one down. There's a pair of 2's. And let's bring this b down. There's a pair of b's. So I just found my greatest common factor. My greatest common factor is when you compare or combine all these, you get 4b. Now, we just need to figure out what is left over that needs to go into parentheses, because remember, the whole concept here is to find the things you multiply together, to find the factors you multiply together. So what we're going to do is now we're going to work with these things up here, and these are the leftovers. So the leftovers are multiplied. So you take everything in this line right here, and I'm sorry the arrow is not straight, but I'm freehanding it. And you multiply everything together that hasn't been circled. Well, you notice you have a 2 and a 2, so that's 2 times 2, which is 4. Now you do the same thing, and you multiply everything here on this line. And this time we see we have a negative 1 times a 5 times a b, which is negative 5b. So what we're going to do is we're going to pair this up with our GCF, which is the 4b, and we're going to put it in parentheses. We put the top thing first, the bottom thing next. We get a 4 minus 5b. Now, what did we just find? Well, we found that if you take 4b and you take 4 minus 5b and you multiply them together using the distributive property, 4 times 4 is 16 and a b. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20, and 2 b's is b squared. We just got the same thing we started with. So we went full circle. Now, what are you going to indicate as your answer? It is this part right here. The two things, the two factors you multiplied together to get what you started with. I hope this video helps. I will be posting another one with a little bit more complicated problem.